Lowe's knows how to help you save. This July 4th, get up to 40% off select Maytag laundry appliances. Plus, get an additional 10% off when you buy 2 or 3 select major appliances. And when you buy 4 or more, you'll save an additional 20%. Find the right appliances and features that fit your home's unique needs and style. Shop Maytag 4th of July deals at Lowe's. Valid through 7/9. See Lowe's.com for details. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Selection varies by location.
So not a bad first week. Record number of Brits winning. Some shocks, some surprises with lots of seeds falling. Norrie into a quarter-final again. Alcaraz and Sinner remain on track for a final rematch. But coming up in this episode, we want to talk about the future. As players do battle on the courts, the All England club is at the High Court to try and see off a challenge against its expansion into the recently acquired Wimbledon Park opposite the current club. This is Anything But Footy from Wimbledon 2025. I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and away from SW19, we'll round up the rest of the week's news from the worlds of Olympic and Paralympic sport. We'll have athletics, cycling and judo. Plus a little mention that it is 20 years ago this week that London won the bid to stage the 2012 Games. Who knows whether we'd be here doing this now if things had gone differently back in Singapore.
Yeah, and of course, Wimbledon, one of the great settings for the London 2012 Olympics, of course. Golden memories for Sir Andy Murray, weeks after losing that Wimbledon singles final. He then beat Roger Federer to win gold. And just outside the All England club, as you walk back up the hill to Wimbledon Village towards St Margaret's Church, you will see the golden postbox in Andy's honour. It is still resplendent. But that's the past. What about the future? And in this episode of the podcast, I'm delighted to be joined by friend of the pod and Michael and me, the Sun's Rob Maul, tennis correspondent extraordinaire and general all-round nice guy. Welcome to the pod, Rob.
Thank you, John. I've been a long-term listener, actually, of your podcast, so it's quite a pleasure to be on here at SW19.
Yeah, now, I will say it's not our first rodeo either, is it? We used to do a football show together on LBC called Schools back in the day. So we've worked together for a long time, and you're always someone who I really respect your views. So I really wanted to talk to you in particular this time about tennis and Wimbledon. But I read somewhere 16 years you've been doing Wimbledon?
Yeah, 2007 was the first Wimbledon I came to, and I was a very lowly reporter, 23 years old. And apart from 2 years, I've been here every year for 16 years. And this is my 6th year as the correspondent for a newspaper, which means you are the top guy at that newspaper. You go to all the press conferences, you get a centre court seat. So I've had to work my way up, and it's been a real transformation with obviously the roofs over that time. The fact that there's night matches now, we're getting longer matches, and the tennis has really changed. And of course, we've seen the end now, haven't we, of Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, Maria Sharapova, Serena Williams. We've seen new heroes come through, haven't we, with Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, Jack Draper, and of course we saw Andy Murray retire last year. So I've seen quite a lot in those 16 Wimbledons I've been covering.
Also, the rest day on a Sunday has disappeared. I mean, I'm old enough, Rob, to remember rest days in Test cricket, but rest days at Wimbledon, that was something that went, and it feels better now, doesn't it? That it spans the full 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, as a newspaper man, every day I've got to supply content. So if there's actual live matches on the middle Sunday, which there is and there has been for a couple of years now, it makes the job easier. We can actually report. Obviously, we had Sonny Cartel, we had Cam Norrie, and for the fans that came, it was a good value for money, wasn't it, to watch those matches on centre court, number one call. Sometimes when you do a slam, and I've been to the French Open, go to the US Open, Australian Open, it is quite nice to have, or was actually quite nice to have that day off in the middle. I think everyone working on the championship, whether you're staff, the ball girls, the umpires, it is quite nice. But I think it's naive to think that's not going to be the case anymore. Nowadays, they all want more play, more money, more fans coming through. So what was quite a unique tradition at Wimbledon has disappeared, and it's not going to go back. We're always going to have play on middle Sunday. So, yeah, I can see the pros and cons. And it was nice in the past just to have a day off at home, just to see the family, do some washing, just go, not have to watch some tennis for a bit. But and obviously a lot of the other championships, they start on a Sunday now. And talking to Wimbledon, they're saying they are not prepared to start on a Sunday. They're always going to start on a Monday. But how long that will continue for, whether the commercial pressures get involved and they have to bring it forward, I don't know. But for the time being, Wimbledon will continue to start on a Monday.
Before we get into the expansion plans, just you mentioned the departure of the likes of Federer and Nadal. Is this the last hurrah for Djokovic this championships?
That's a good question. He's in the last 16 and he's trying to get into the quarterfinals. Whether he can beat Carlos Alcaraz or Yannick Sinner over 5 sets on grass at the age of 38, I don't know. However, in a recent podcast with Slaven Bilic, the former West Ham Everton defender, he said he wants to play to the LA Olympics,
Wow.
which you and I would hopefully like to be at in a couple of years' time. That's 2028. So that would make him what, 41? I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, he's still competitive. He perhaps can't beat the best players, as we saw at Roland Garros, as we saw at the Australian Open when he got injured, but he can beat the majority of the field. And it only takes for a couple of top seeds to go out, and suddenly the door opens. So I don't know. I mean, is this his last hurrah? I don't know with Djokovic. I don't know. And also, how does he retire? Federer retired at the Laver Cup. Everyone was in tears. Rafa Nadal retired at the Paris Olympics and then the Davis Cup, and he had that ceremony. If you're Novak Djokovic, what's the send off? What is the way to say goodbye? Is it in Belgrade? Is it the Davis Cup? So I think he's got a lot of decisions. But while he's still healthy and he's still competitive, why not carry on?
Absolutely. So let's talk expansion plans because Wimbledon, while the players are on court, Wimbledon, the All England Championships, All England Club are going to be in court, the High Court, to try and fend off the judicial review into their expansion into Wimbledon Park. So, firstly, what is the plan, and why is it needed, do you think?
So where Wimbledon is, you've got Church Road to the right-hand side, and across the Church Road is the Wimbledon Park golf course, and it's been abandoned, if you like. It's not been used as a golf course for several years now. And the idea is that championship bosses want to build on that sort of park area 38 grass courts and a new show court, which would allow them to have the qualifying, which currently is at Roehampton, on site. It would therefore mean you could have an extra 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people per day covering the tennis. You'd be able to have, especially if we've had rainy days, you'd have more courts to have more matches being played, the wheelchairs, invitationals, the mixed doubles. So you would ensure the championship would run smoothly. If you've got more courts to have it on, it would mean more bums on seats, more people passing through the gates. And I think talking to Wimbledon bosses, their fear is that they would be left behind the Australian Open, the US Open, which have far bigger sites, which have more opportunities commercially to have more people coming through the gates. And you're very limited in London, aren't you, about access to where you can build this thing? And they've got this park golf course. Clearly, we know of the protests. We know of the challenges, the difficulties that other people have, local residents particularly. The spade hasn't gone in the ground yet. So we're a long way off actually having those things built. But I think Wimbledon are looking long-term, aren't they, for the next decade, to expanding this championship. And I think, John, you covered enough tennis in your time. Wimbledon is, for a lot of people, the most iconic tournament. It's the one they all want to win. But the players don't play on grass. They only play on hard courts, indoors or outdoors. They play on clay. It's a very unique part of the calendar. And Wimbledon doesn't want to fall behind, does it, basically, in terms of its facilities, its access, and as I say, the actual attendances and the spectators.
Yeah, you mentioned about falling behind. I mean, I went to Roland Garros for the first time during the Paris Olympics, and everything just seemed bigger there. The stands, the Susan Longland court, it kind of actually made me go, oh, I can see maybe why Wimbledon want to up their game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as part of their proposals, they want a new 23-acre public park, which would be converted from a private golf course. They claim it's been previously inaccessible for the past 100 years. And they also want to use a new 4-acre public park at the north entrance to the site. Now, there's been issues at this year's championship with the district line. Today, coming in at Wimbledon Station, the district line was suspended because of signal problems. Now, you've got Wimbledon Park train station, which separates Southfields and Wimbledon. And that's quite difficult to use because you have to physically go around the park. So I think if they were to build these new show courts, they might be able to use the district line a bit better and to get people going via Southfields and Wimbledon Park. And of course, you've got the queue as well, which is where people can queue up, a lot of people overnight to try and get ground passes to watch the tennis. So the event is very popular. People want to come here. There's a uniqueness, isn't there, to it, because it only happens. The site isn't really used for tennis outside of these 2-3 weeks. So I think there is a demand for tickets, and they just want to be able to expand for the 21st century.
Yeah, so the Save Wimbledon Park campaign group argue 3 points which they're going to take to the High Court. The decision to approve by City Hall, so Sadiq Khan, the mayor, although it was the deputy, Jules Piper, actually made the decision, made errors of law and planning policy. Also, they failed to take in the covenant of the land, saying a proposed private tennis entertainment complex is not an alternative sports and recreational provision as required by planning policy. And as Rob has already mentioned, there was a golf course there. And they also obviously are highlighting the environmental concerns around tree destruction and claiming even the current golf course, which was there, was damaged and has been damaged. There was historic landscape there back in the day. So that's what they're fighting at the High Court about. I mean, the City Hall Deputy Mayor, Jules Pipe, said that the scheme would provide very significant public benefits and clearly outweigh any harm done to public land. How confident are Wimbledon, Rob?
Well, I mean, I was at the Merton council meeting about planning last year or two, and they were very confident. A lot of the top brass came along. Sally Bowles, the chief executive, for example, came along. I think they have been confident, but it's got to go through the legal recourse. And of course, the protesters talk about this covenant, and that's something they're pursuing. And as you say, the biodiversity of the land, and Wimbledon are putting together arguments for all these cases, aren't they? Trying to make the point that they feel that they can answer all the concerns and the criticisms. Look, it's going through the legal thing. The lawyers are the ones who always win, aren't they, in these situations? But look, how confident are they? They are confident. But of course, every month, every year that the spade is not in the ground and they're not constructing and those lorries are not going up and down Church Road, it's another delay to the plan. So we are at a very pivotal juncture in this development. And in the next day or two, we should really find out if it can accelerate and go forward. And look, who knows, in the next 10, 15 years, this whole area that we're now from, Wimbledon, how different this could look, basically. But of course, if it does go ahead, there's going to be a lot of construction, a lot of lorries, and they do have to improve the infrastructure for the transportation because, quite frankly, during this particular tournament, it has been highlighted to be inadequate. And I think TfL would acknowledge that.
Final question. You said something really interesting, that the players don't play on grass. And I don't think as British tennis fans, we really understand that. We watch Wimbledon and think, as you said, it is the pinnacle. But actually, most of the players focus on clay or hard courts, and that's where they're playing and practicing. Is there a chance, Rob, that if this expansion doesn't go through, we saw the number of seeds falling this time in these championships, that players might turn around and go, well, the facilities aren't very good. I don't really like playing on grass. Yes, it's an amazing tournament, but actually, as time goes on, we get left behind. Is there a chance that Wimbledon actually could come to an end?
No, there's 3 million reasons why that's not going to happen, John. And that's the prize money for the winner of the of the men's and women's trophies at the end of it. The prize money's going up. It's a Grand Slam. It's prestigious. People want to win Wimbledon. They grow up watching Wimbledon. We would have grown up watching it perhaps in the 80s and 90s and all the great legacies. So it is a very strange surface to be playing on when you look at the context of the 12-month calendar, the exhibitions they do, the fact that grass is only 4 or 5 weeks basically. And yeah, I mean, Jack Draper was highlighting that. He was saying there's a misconception that because I'm British, because I'm a big lefty, therefore I must be exceptional on grass. I'm not. I feel uncomfortable. I need to improve my game. Now, I'm sure he will. And he also highlighted what an achievement it was for Andy Murray to be so consistent here, to win the 2 titles, to carry all that pressure and expectation on his shoulders. So no, I don't think so necessarily. And while you've got the people likes of Carlos Alcaraz, Yannick Sinner winning here, Novak Djokovic, players will always want to win. There's a lot of money at stake. There's a lot of pride, a lot of ranking points, trophies, majors. No, I don't think it will ever go, but they can't necessarily take it for granted just because they are an historical place. There's legacy tradition that people are going to want to. I mean, Casper Ruud, for example, famously says that grass is for golfers, not for tennis players. And he's one of the guys that has a terrible record here at the championships. And he just barely gets through this season, then concentrates on the hard court swing in North America. So they can't stand still. They can't take things for granted. And of course, like all these sports, look at the money being pumped in from Saudi Arabia, from oil-rich nations. Look at Asian money that's coming in, Chinese money in other sports as well. What's stopping them saying down the line, we want to slam, we want to be part of this, we want to host a huge event that has 2,000 points for the winner, £3 million for the champion. So look, I think they can't be complacent. I'm not saying they are, but it's certainly something they can't do going forward. And that goes back to the expansion. That's part of amid the protests and the criticism, that's what they're trying to do, isn't it? Is trying to expand this tournament so they would still be seen as a premier major championship.
Well, Rob, we really appreciate your time. We'll let you crack on because, as you said, you're in charge now. The Sun's Rob Maul, tennis correspondent. Thank you so much for talking to Anything But Footy.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Before we have the latest Olympic and Paralympic news from the Games, some other tennis headlines to bring you. And Alfie Hewitt and Gordon Reid, congratulations to them. Ideal preparation for the wheelchair draws at the championships in Wimbledon this week. They won the men's singles and doubles titles between them at the Lexus British Open in Roehampton at the weekend. Hewitt beat defending champion Gustavo Fernandez 2-6, 6-4, 6-4 to claim his third British Open singles title since 2021. And then he teamed up with his Paralympic partner Gordon Reid as they beat Spain in the men's doubles 6-love, 6-2. So as promised, we are the Olympic and Paralympic podcast and the first major BMX event since the Paris 2024 Olympics. British Cycling has picked a 7-strong squad for the 2025 BMX Racing European Championships in Latvia. Beth Shriver, who missed out cruelly on a medal last summer in the final race, leads the women's team. Emily Hutt, who won under-23 silver last year, will be looking to upgrade that to a gold. In the men's elite, Ross Cullen, who was a reserve in Paris and has won a European Cup already this year, he's joined by Tokyo Olympic medalist Kai White, and they're in action from July 10th to the 13th.
In other news from the Games, the London Diamond League is just a couple of weeks away now, a sellout at the London Stadium. And ahead of that, the Prefontaine Classic was staged in the US in Oregon over the weekend. There was a terrific win for Matthew Hudson-Smith, the Paris 2024 silver medalist, won the 400 metres, a time of 44.10. Charlie Dobson in the same race clocked 44.65. Other news to bring you as far as Team GB or British athletics is concerned. Men's 100 metres, season's best time for Zarnell Hughes, a 9.91. Jeremiah Azu, the world indoor champion from earlier this year, he came home in 10.20. Gemma Reekie finished 7th in the 800 metres. Georgia Hunter-Bell finished 4th in the 1500 metres. And Dina Asher-Smith finished 6th in the 100 metres. There was a new mile personal best for Jake Whiteman, a time of 3:47.82 at the same venue where he became world champion over 1500 metres in 2022. Neil Gourlay was 12th. Now, I mentioned Georgia Hunter-Bell and that 1500 metres. There was a world record in that race for Faith Kipyegon. The Kenyan clocked 3:48.68. That came after her recent attempt at the 4-minute mile in Paris. In cycling, Geraint Thomas is racing in the Tour de France for the final time. At 39, he is the oldest rider in the race. It's his 14th appearance. Remember, he took the yellow jersey back in 2018. He's also won a couple of Olympic gold medals, one in Beijing and one in London. Also in action as far as British Olympians go in the Tour de France, Fred Wright and the brothers, Adam and Simon Yates. And we'll finish up with some judo. And Katie Jemima Yates-Brown returned to judo action at the weekend. It was her first appearance since the Olympic Games in Paris, and congratulations to her. She won the Tallinn European Open gold.
Don't forget to check out our socials in all the usual places. Anything But Footy. The very latest from Wimbledon this week, but all the other Olympic and Paralympic news. We've got our latest blogs on the website, anythingbutfooty.com. You can also see what we get up to when we're not talking about Olympics and Paralympics. The Spotify Olympic music playlist is updated. If you are missing Paris 2024 and you want to get in the mood, maybe have a listen to that. And stay with us. Some exciting news about the anniversary of the Paris Olympics to come with some podcast specials, and stay with us. We're moving on to Milan and looking ahead to LA.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We all know that owning a small business means you wear many hats, but sometimes you really need an extra pair of hands. Upwork is how good companies find great and trusted freelance talent. With more than 2 decades of experience, with the simple and ambitious goal of pioneering a better way of working, companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in staffing key projects and initiatives. They access a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web dev, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, and get help drafting a job post or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them and take your business to the next level. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com.